Hey guys, hello and welcome. I just wanted to talk to you guys about my first shamanic experience with the plant medicine ayahuasca. I do not recommend anybody trying ayahuasca or any other substance that is illegal in any land where they see it as illegal. Um, if you do choose to go on this journey and to uh, take any substances, mind altering substances, I recommend that you do it in a safe and secure environment with people that you trust and with people that are professionals that have journeyed many times before. This is just my experience. I'm not recommending that you do it. So, this journey is about how ayahuasca helped me to break my addiction to MMORPGs. The MMORPG that I was addicted to was World of Warcraft. And my intention to drink the ayahuasca was not to stop my addiction at all. I loved playing. It was a lot of fun for me. My intention was to go on my first psychedelic trip and just to see stuff, kind of had the, try everything once mentality. Of course, I don't think like that anymore. So I will start at my first dose. And after I had my first dose, I went back to my spot and I started to meditate. And as I was meditating, I saw in behind my eyelids there was the flower of life, and it appeared on both eyes, and it slowly came together so that there was just one right there in the center of my eyes. And soon this flower of life started to pulse and to slowly spin, kind of like what you're seeing on the screen. And I started to get a bit of motion sickness, and I even opened my eyes. And the flower of life appeared, and even with my eyes open, and it seemed like anything that had light, like that was reflecting from the fire, was the flower of life reflecting. I thought it was really cool, but I also felt nauseous at the same time. And then my nausea increased, and my thoughts started to get kind of frightening. I was freaking out. I was reminded of the discussion I had with my wife before I went on my travels. And she was telling me that, you're going to land far away in the middle of a forest, and you're going to drink a mind-altering substance with nobody to protect you, nowhere, if something goes wrong, there's nothing to protect you, and I don't know where you're at, and, it's the first time you've been there, and you're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. And that replayed in my head as I was viewing this flower of life and feeling very nauseous. Then I had the thoughts of, maybe I was tricked into some cultic ceremony and I was in danger of, being harmed, or, all those movies of, human sacrifice, like, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom kept replaying in my mind. Videos of Bohemian Grove, and, just these thoughts of sacrifice, and it was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I was like, I gotta get whatever this is that I drink, I need to get it out. And then I was noticing that I was catching the attention of the healers, those who are, who help facilitate the, with the medicine and with the overall ceremony. And I was like, oh, in order to not get their attention, I need to like fake that I'm on a journey. And so I noticed that others in the ceremony were, vomiting, and I was like, okay, this is what they want. They want me to vomit. So if I vomit, it'll look like I'm on the journey, that I'm, in the ceremony, right? And in order to not draw attention to myself, I got on all fours and I, tried to vomit. And this healer came over, and in my mind, it seemed like he was like right over me, like, total attention towards me. But in reality, he was walking around and, shaking in a circle, because as the healing's going on, they're walking in a circle around the fire and, just playing the music. And I felt the rattle shake up through my spine. So as he was rattling, my spine was rattling with it. And I felt like I wanted to vomit the medicine out even more than I did before. And the thing is, I was locked up. Like, even though I wanted to vomit, it was nothing was coming out. No vomit was coming out. And I don't know, for some reason that made me fear the medicine even more. And fear kind of totally took over me, because my body was wanting to reject this medicine and it wasn't being rejected. And I thought to myself, what if I can't get this medicine out? What if this medicine has, what if it stays in and I go on like this full, exorcism that, I don't want. And, at this time I was hearing some weird things going on. I had my eyes closed, but I was hearing what I thought were exorcisms and, people struggling all around me. And so then I thought, okay, well, I do remember hearing someone talk about how when they purge, they cry instead of vomit. So that's what I did. I tried to cry, and just by trying to cry, it like opened something up within me, and I just felt this sorrowness of, I don't really understand what, if I could put a topic on this, if I could put a description on this type of crying. It was more of like a forgiveness of yourself, of myself, a forgiveness of myself, and I just started bawling. Like, I've never cried that much before, and this whole like, oh, I'm man, and I don't cry, that was just shattered, and I just cried and cried, and it felt really good to do so. And then there was a pain in my left kidney, and it felt like a cue ball was inside my left kidney. And I felt like maybe I should tell a healer about it, but then again I was like, ooh, I don't know, this is a ceremony, and they might have like some weird knives that they might try to cut this thing out of me, and I'm not cool with that, and which was total nonsense. But my mind was in a weird place at the time, and I noticed that I had a fear of sharp objects, and then I felt a warm hand, like, just move down my spine. So where the rattle was shaking, the warm hand would move down the spine and it like soothed that shakiness. And then I felt the hand touch my heart. And I heard a woman's voice say, "Surrender." And at that moment, I'm not sure, what she meant by surrender, but if she meant by like giving up and allowing myself to die, then that is not going to happen. And, of course I was playing that in my mind, and she was like, "Surrender. Quiet the mind. Surrender." And at that moment, I may have quieted my mind for like a split second, and I realized that because I was freaking out, my heart was racing. And I realized, well, regardless of what surrender means, my heart shouldn't be beating this fast when I'm not, running on the track or jogging or whatever, right? And so I took slow, deep breaths, trying to get my heart rate back down. And the healer stood with me and with her hand on my heart, and we breathed, and soon my heart rate was down to what I would think is normal, and I felt more comfortable, and I was not freaking out as much. So then I went back to kneeling, and I had a meditation, and the flower of life was still there, and then suddenly it kind of like faded, and these 4 gray aliens, like stereotypical Roswell gray aliens, appeared in front of me. But their skin was white, and they had no expression on their face. They didn't have a nose, but they did have like 2 slight nostrils, but no nose. So just nostrils on it, and there were like slits where their nose would be. They didn't seem harmful. They didn't seem helpful. They didn't seem, they had bad intentions or good intentions. They were completely neutral. Like, never felt a more neutral presence in my life. Like, just completely no judgment, no rewards, just is. And then they faded away, and these tribal masks appeared in front of me. And they were pulsing and rotating kind of like the flower of life was before. But I felt the purge, what I thought was vomit, like come up out of my chest, and I could feel it rising up into my throat. And I finally vomited in the purge bucket. And when I opened my eyes, I noticed that there were these black ants that were crawling in this orange liquid, and I was like, did that come out of me? What? And I was like surprised, like, what is this? And like, they were actually moving, and I'm like, how is that? And then as I asked that question, boom, I vomited even more, and there were more black ants and more, orange liquid, and I was like, this is not possible. And I was thinking, where's the medicine? When, the medicine wasn't orange. Why am I, shouldn't I be vomiting up what I drank? And boom, vomited more ants. And then suddenly, I started to vomit these black spiders, and they looked like they were black spiders that were like bunched up together. I just couldn't believe what just came out of my mouth. I did not expect to vomit anything black. That was just really weird to me, and I felt like I completely emptied my belly, and I vomited as much as I could have, but I still did feel nauseous. And so I laid down, and as I laid down, I kept breathing deep breaths, and I felt my heart beating slower and slower and slower until it was too slow. and then it was too slow, my mind started freaking out. I was like, oh no, I don't want my heart being this slow, I don't want to, heart to beat too fast because I don't want a heart attack, but yet I don't want my heart to be too slow because I don't want to die, and then I was getting really cold, and then my lips went numb. Now, I was also right next to the door, so the cold air was also, making me really cold. And I had, sleeping bag and blankets and jacket and a beanie. And, I was just really, trying to warm myself up. And then the music got more intense. And as the music got more intense, my mind started playing tricks on me. Like, I thought that I looked up and I saw that the two people I knew before the ceremony walked out, like the friends that brought me there, like walked out while giggling, like they set me up or something. Excuse me. And I was just, kind of freaking out about that. I was like, oh no, where they go? Why are they leaving me here? What's going on? What's the setup? Did I just get tricked? Was my wife right? Stuff like that. And then I heard more exorcisms going off. Like, I heard gargling and snorting and like I, the sound of full on exorcisms that I heard from watching horror movies. Which I definitely do not ever recommend watching horror movies. They are psychological weapons against us. And I witnessed that firsthand. But I didn't open my eyes to watch these exorcisms. I just heard them. So, because I did not want to get exorcised myself by these healers, I decided, okay, in order to fake my journey, I need to smile, act like I'm on a good journey. If I'm on a good journey, they won't come and mess with me. They won't feel like they need to exorcise any demons out of me or whatever, right? So I put on a fake smile in order to avoid detection. But what happened was my smile started to feel stretched. Like, there's this old Black Hole Sun video by the band Soundgarden from the 90s where like their smiles get like stretched further and further and further. And as my smile was getting stretched, it felt like my face was kind of melting. And so I'm like, what is going on? My face is melting. And then at the time my face is melting, I didn't really have too much time to worry about that because I felt a vacuum literally pulling me. Oh, the best way words can describe is a vacuum was pulling my spirit out of my body. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. In fact, I thought I was dying. And I was, mentally trying to keep myself in my body while feeling myself being pulled out of my body. And then I had the revelation of my video game addiction and my selective hearing. And what happened was I heard myself, my higher self, which, if I could describe it, is the voice you hear when you're in deep thought. And it said, why are you afraid of dying? And I was like, I don't want to go, I'm too, I'm too young, and, even if age wasn't a matter, like, I have kids, I have a wife, I have, a life to live, I still want to live life, and the voice was like, well, why do you want to live life? Why, if your wife and kids are the reason why you live your life, then why even live at all? Because you don't pay them the attention that they deserve. And I just went silent. And I was wondering, what? what did I just say? I don't pay them the attention they deserve. And then I started seeing my, a little bit of my past, my recent past. And my recent past was that I saw visions of me playing World of Warcraft and not looking at my wife when she's talking to me about her day or about, doing laundry or about doing anything, about me getting up and doing anything, not really looking at her, not giving her any attention. I saw my children. Sorry, this is a little emotional. I saw my children approach me while I'm playing World of Warcraft, showing me their toys, showing me their art. I saw my youngest daughter showing me her dolls, her teddy bears in particular, and me just saying, nodding my head, but not moving my eyes from World of Warcraft, from the MMORPG that I was addicted to. And then I felt their disappointment. It was like we switched roles, and suddenly I was my children, I was my wife, and I felt their disappointment, and I felt their rejection, and I felt the thought that their own father and that, her husband was not paying them enough attention. And so I was questioning my self-worth. So I was, as a child, questioning my self-worth to my own father. And I was speechless. I didn't have any excuse why I was doing that to my children. I did not that was not my intention to ignore my children, to ignore my wife. My intention was to play a video game, which I later found out was a way for me to escape reality in a way. After I felt their disappointment, their pain, their rejection, the pulling got more intense, and the tribal mass appeared and started pulsing harder. And I really thought I was going to die, and so I was bawling, and I started begging for forgiveness and a second chance. And it went on for a while, and after a while my face did start to, it did stop melting, and the pulling did start to fade, and the visuals of these tribal masks changed back into the flower of life, and I could hear soft music playing, and I realized I was back at the ceremony, and I was, I guess, for lack of a better word, back. And I felt like, I wasn't as nauseous from before, and I could sit up without throwing up, and that it would be okay, and that there wouldn't be any, healers that were going to exercise me. Like, it was the time for exercising was done, and I didn't feel like I needed to fear that anymore. And so I sat up, and I looked at the fire, and I was just kind of thinking about what just happened in my head as I looked at this fire, and I could see that other participants were sitting up, and the healers were, kind of just sitting, and everybody was just kind of in their, own space, but at the same time, like, we would look at each other like, whoa, like amazement and like accomplishment, like, wow, we just did this, we all did this work, and it feels good because we all did it together, and we're humans, but we're more than humans, and And then I could see that there were traces of lights on anything organic. So like the wood near the fire, I could see these traces of lights. Um, on the instruments, on the fabrics that were around me, there were traces of lights. But what was really trippy is that there were traces of lights that were inside the skin of people I saw, so like as if their blood vessels were filled with light, and I could see it under their skin. And I remember seeing that there was this one healer. She looked like a wood elf, um, and that was that was pretty like, whoa, what is that? Am I seeing like a different form? Anyway, yeah. So after a while, we ate and we shared our journeys. And I talked with one of the healers, the one that touched my heart, and she told me that she felt Aya, the spirit of the plant in ayahuasca, tell her that he's injured. His heart is injured, and she told her to go put my heart back in place, and that's what she did. And honestly, it did not feel like a woman's hand. It it felt like I was being touched by something divine. Um, and I think that Aya was working through that healer, and it was Aya that touched me using the healer's hands. And I think that's how healing is done. That's why healers are so important to have in this world. I'm thankful every day for that. Um, and she was talking to me about the love of Mother Earth and how she wants to connect with us, just as children want to connect with their parents. And what she said was for me, and it went deep, and I was surprised that, like, whoa, how did she know that? Something divine must be speaking to her to understand that that was my journey, because I wasn't loud about it. um, I didn't share that particular part of my journey with my children's disappointment at the time. I wasn't really comfortable with it. I didn't even mention addiction video games or anything like that. Now I'm comfortable talking about it, but back then I wasn't necessarily comfortable talking about it. And then we all gave each other hugs, and the hugs felt amazing. It wasn't like I was just hugging someone like, hey bro, hug. It felt like a human connection through Mother Earth. It was like, my heart energy is touching your heart energy, and we are both grounded to the energy of the earth, which comes up through us and unites us as humans. And this is just through a hug. And before the ceremony, I never really liked hugging. I don't know if it's like a man thing or whatever, but I never liked hugging, especially men. And after the ceremony, like, I was hugging everybody. I still hug. I prefer a hug over a handshake. I will hug men, women, animals. I love hugging. I love putting my heart center with other heart centers and feeling that connection. So later that night, after I said goodbye to everybody and went back to my quarters and tried to go to sleep. When I was trying to go to sleep, the flower of life visited me again, and it was slowly pulsing. A lot like the what you're seeing on the screen, and slow, gentle, kaleidoscope. And even that kind of freaked me out. And I just told myself, breathe slowly and deeply, calm your heart, and just enjoy the kaleidoscope. Just enjoy the flower of life. It's totally natural. You're okay, and you're not gonna die. And eventually I did go to sleep. And after I traveled back home, I got home at night, and I, kissed my children as they were sleeping, and just sent them loving energy, kissed them on their forehead. And I embraced my wife like I've, never embraced her before. I just, loving, hugging energy. And I could tell that she felt it. Um, and the next morning I made breakfast, and I desired to make breakfast. Like I wanted to wake up to make breakfast. I haven't felt like doing that before. That's like not me. Well, I mean, it is me, but back then it didn't feel like it was me, but now it is me, definitely. I embrace it. And so I made breakfast for my family, and we just hung out, and we put together puzzles, and played board games, and I read some books to them, and we eventually watched some TV, but it was like a family movie, and we snuggled under a blanket, and we were just having good family time. And I didn't even think about touching any kind of video game or any kind of like media um, that whole day. And it wasn't till weeks later that I got back on the computer. But when I did, I immediately, without even looking, uninstalled World of Warcraft. Got rid of all my links to any kind of guides, any kind of remnants of World of Warcraft. I completely wiped out of my system. I threw away shirts, I threw away discs, books, magazines, you name it, anything with World of Warcraft, I threw away. I did not want to be drawn back into that addiction. Mother Earth changed my frequency, and as she changed my frequency, I believe she changed my desires. And I haven't touched World of Warcraft since. In fact, I don't play anything that I cannot pause. If I can't pause it, I don't play it. Because nothing is as important as my family and my life. And if anything is, drawing in that attention to where you cannot pause it because you think you're playing with real people that matter. And another thing that was revealed to me is like the people you play with online, they don't, they're playing with your character. They're not playing with you. They don't know you. They know your character. And if you were to die, they wouldn't even be at your funeral. That's a realization that people need to think about when they think they have these online friends. They're not friends with you. They're friends with your character. They're not going to be at your funeral. They're not going to be at your wedding. They're not going to see your kids grow up. They're not going to be the village that needs to help raise your children, because it takes a village to raise children. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. I understand. I'm going to wrap this up. Now, when my wife talks to me, I pause, I get up, I look into her eyes, and I wait till she's done, speaking, or we'll have a conversation, or we'll go and watch a movie, or we'll do whatever. But anything I do is paused for my family. I play with my kids every day, and I make sure that we eat all our meals together and always at the table with no media present. Because my family comes first, And I make sure that my wife and my kids know that their father and their husband loves them. And that is the message I want to give to my children, that their father loved them. And that they know it. A knowing, an inner knowing. An esoteric knowing. Not, oh, well, it's, family's supposed to love each other, and, your parents love you, and, so on and so forth. No, not that kind of love. I want a love, like a knowing, like my children are going to grow up knowing my parents were there for me, they cared for me, they paid attention to me, and they loved what I loved. And they made every effort to make me the best person I can be, and I know it. That's the kind of inner knowing that I want my children to have. I hope this helped anybody out there who is struggling with video game addiction. I hope this helped anybody who is considering a spiritual journey. And just travel safe in the love and light. Realize you are loved. You are protected. And you are spiritually guided. I have 12 more videos to make about this. But this is my first one. And if you want more detail, I did make detail videos in different parts. But this is just the one video with my entire journey in one video. I tried to break it down as much as I could. I tried to simplify it as much as I could. So I hope you enjoy. Leave a comment, like it, subscribe, do the YouTube thing or whatever. And above all, I hope this helps you, spiritually on your spiritual walk. And goodbye.